The Denver Broncos didn't get any help from the rest of the NFL today. There were a few chances where the Broncos could have secured a playoff spot, but no other team made it easy for us. And you know what? That might actually be a good thing. We don't want the Broncos to just slide into the playoffs without earning it. This team has shown how tough they are when things get hard. Remember that blocked field goal against the Kansas City Chiefs? It was heartbreaking, but right after that, we bounced back and won 4 straight games. That says a lot about this team's fight. In this video, we'll look at some interesting things Coach Sean Payton talked about in his press conference today. It's rare to have a press conference while the rest of the NFL is busy playing, so that's one unique angle. Another thing worth noting, the Cincinnati Bengals only have 5 days to rest before they face us. Plus, they had a few injuries in their game today. That could work in our favor. Oh, and there's some exciting news about key players returning to the Broncos lineup. If you're new here, I'm Ben, a big-time Denver Broncos fan. Usually, I record in my man cave at home, surrounded by Broncos gear, but I'm on the road for Christmas break. Let's jump in. This video will cover a lot, so I hope you're enjoying the holidays. Let's get started. Before today's games, we had a wish list of outcomes that could have helped the Broncos. We wanted the Steelers to win. Having a chance to face them in the playoffs would have been ideal. We also hoped the Browns would beat the Bengals, the Titans would take down the Colts, and the 49ers would handle the Dolphins. But guess what? None of those things happened. And you know what? That's okay. Here's the big takeaway. I watched a lot of the Browns versus Bengals game. Even though the final score made it look like the Bengals dominated, they actually struggled at times. I think the Broncos can take advantage of their defense. Plus, let's not forget, the Broncos scored more points against the Browns than the Bengals did. That's a great sign. As for the 49ers, it's a shame they couldn't beat the Dolphins. If just one of these outcomes had gone our way, the Broncos could have clinched a playoff spot. But the fight isn't over, and that's what makes it exciting. That loss to the Chargers wasn't as bad as some people think. Sure, we all wanted the 5th seed to face the Texans, or even the 6th seed for a shot at the Steelers. But now it looks like Baltimore will jump ahead of Pittsburgh, and honestly, I'd rather avoid the Ravens in the first round. At this point, it seems the Broncos are likely to get the 7th seed. That might actually be better. We saw Buffalo struggle to beat the Patriots today, and while they pulled it off, it also means the Kansas City Chiefs now have the number 1 seed locked up. My guess? The Chiefs won't play their starters in the final game. That's a big advantage for us. We only need 1 win in the next 2 games, and we might be facing backups in that last matchup. Now about today's press conference. Sean Payton seemed in a much better mood than he was after the loss to the Chargers. He didn't hold back, though. He went straight at the media, especially over the criticism about his aggressive play calling with 40 seconds left in the game. Payton didn't apologize or second-guess himself. He made it clear he stands by his decisions, even if others don't agree. This might sound like I'm fully backing Sean Payton, but I agree with his decision. Here's why. The Broncos' offense was on fire against the Chargers. They had 3 straight touchdown drives and couldn't be stopped. So, of course, Payton wanted to push for more points and secure a bigger lead before halftime. I don't blame him at all. In the press conference, Payton didn't hold back, calling the criticism of his aggression at the end of the second quarter the stupidest take he's ever read. And honestly, I'm with him. That aggressive play calling shows a shift in the team's culture, and I'm here for it. That's the kind of mindset we need: bold, confident, and always aiming to win. Another thing Payton touched on was something many fans agree on. Audrey Estee needs the ball more. Look back at the Kansas City game. Estee was consistently gaining 3 or 4 yards every play. I can't recall a single time he got stopped in the backfield. Compare that to Javonte Williams, who often seems to get hit behind the line of scrimmage. I'd love to see fewer massive rotations on offense. Subbing in an entirely new offensive line or constantly swapping running backs disrupts the flow. Instead, let's stick to a 2 running back system. Use Jalil when he's healthy and Estee as the main guys, with Javonte as our go-to for third downs. This could make the offense much more efficient. Audrey Estee has been showing his value lately. Against the Chargers, he made some great plays in pass protection, picking up key blitzes and helping to keep B-Nix safe. He also had a couple of clutch first downs off short dump-off passes on third downs. Sean Payton acknowledged this in the press conference, saying he believes Estee has earned more chances with the ball. This is a big deal for the Broncos. If they're going to make a real impact in the playoffs, and I think they can, Estee needs to get more opportunities. It's great to see Payton recognizing what fans have been saying all along. Estee is a difference maker. On the defensive side, Payton gave us some insight into the team's recent struggles. He pointed to the absence of Riley Moss as a major factor. Without Moss, the defense has had to change its approach. For example, without Moss locking down his assignments, Vance Joseph can't call for zero coverage as confidently. That means the Broncos can't blitz as aggressively, and it's shown in games like the one against Justin Herbert. Herbert barely felt any pressure in that game, which was frustrating. Especially since just a week earlier, the Buccaneers sacked him 5 times and hit him several more, even though he wasn't fully healthy. Payton said the defense had to adjust without Moss, but the good news is Moss might return this weekend, just a week later than many of us had hoped. His comeback could make a huge difference. With the extra rest Riley Moss has had, he should be ready to return this weekend. If he's back, the game plan becomes clear. Put Moss on T. Higgins and Pat Certain on Jamar Chase. That would free up the defense to bring heavy pressure all game long. With Moss back, the Broncos can move away from the zone coverage that has caused so many problems lately. A few videos ago, we looked at the stats. Justin Simmons gave up 103 yards as the nearest defender in a single game. That's largely because the zone defense hasn't worked well without Moss. His return would allow the team to play more aggressive, man-to-man coverage and pressure the quarterback effectively. Sean Payton hinted at Moss's return, saying, "Hopefully it can happen this weekend." Payton doesn't just throw out comments like that unless there's a strong chance it's true. If Moss had been expected to miss this much time, the team could have placed him on short-term IR after the Raiders game, saved a roster spot, and avoided cutting Josh Reynolds earlier in the season. Now, about Joe Burrow and all the praise he gets for his deep ball accuracy, it's deserved. But let's not forget our own quarterback. There's been plenty of chatter on Twitter about Bo Nix being a check-down king, but the advanced stats tell a different story. Nix ranks 5th in completions of 20-plus yards this season. That's ahead of big names like Patrick Mahomes and Jaden Daniels, who don't even appear on the list when you dig deeper. These stats show that Nix isn't afraid to take shots downfield, and that makes the Broncos' offense even more dangerous. It's time to put the check-down king narrative to rest. We don't have a check-down king. We have the quarterback of our future. That's something every Broncos fan should feel great about. This team isn't stumbling into the playoffs. Instead, the Broncos have been dominating and leading the league in blowout wins. Even in the games we've lost, aside from the Ravens, it's been by just one score. When we win big. With 9 days of rest, the Broncos are heading into Saturday's game in Cincinnati, ready to make a statement. This isn't just about clinching a playoff spot. It's about doing it in style. Beating a team led by a quarterback many consider an MVP contender would send a strong message. The matchup couldn't be better. It's a classic NFL showdown, strength against strength. Our top-tier cornerback against their elite wide receiver. If we take away that advantage, the Bengals will struggle. And let's not forget, Sean Payton will have had 10 days to craft the perfect game plan to exploit Cincinnati's defense. I believe the Broncos will lock in their playoff spot on Saturday with a decisive win. This is our chance to show the league what we're made of and set the tone for the postseason. We'll be live streaming the game, so join us to catch every moment. Wishing everyone a happy holiday season. There's so much to be excited about.